Bonjour. The purpose of this recording is to remediate the Unit 14 test and to go over the key concepts to help you be able to complete a retake. So we're going to understand the key concepts of Unit 14, know where to find extra practice, know what's available for help, and hopefully be able to retake the Unit 14 test with at least 70% accuracy or above. We are going to go through the vocabulary, the grammar, and the culture from Unit 14. Throughout this recording, you will have questions that you have to answer. Please make sure you are answering the questions and writing down the letter that corresponds to the correct answer of the question. This password is going to be all letters. And make sure to use all capital letters. And then if the password you get does not work, you can email me, Madam Kiger, with the password you're trying to use, and I will let you know which questions you need to revisit. So the vocabulary for Unit 14 all has to do with computers. Inside the vocabulary module, you'll have links to the Quizlet flashcards that you can use to practice. The lists are there, as well as some extra vocabulary practice. But here are some of the most important words to know for the test, words that you'll definitely see on the test. So we have clavier, keyboard, coller, paste, corriger, correct, données, data, dossier, file, écouteur, headphones, effacer, erase, enregistrer, to save, envoyer, to send, fenêtre, window, fermer une session, to log out or close the session, fichier, a file, imprimer, to print, jambe, a leg. That's an old word, that's why I paused. Mot de passe, password. Nom d'utilisateur, username. Ordinateur, computer. Ordinateur portable, a laptop. Ouvrir en session, to log in. Page d'accueil is your home page, the page that opens when you log into the internet. Souris, a mouse. Supprimer, to delete. Télécharger, to download. And vieux, old. Like I said, all these answers or words are things that you will see on the test. Some of them are older words, but do make sure you're familiar with what these words mean and how to use them. So, based on that, choose the word shown by this picture. All right, moving on to the grammar for this unit, which is commands. So for most verbs, the command form will be the same as the regular present tense form of that verb for that subject. So this is true of regular and irregular verbs, and you can see those examples in this chart here. So for an ER verb, the vous command, that's the present tense form of an ER verb for vous. Same with the nous command. These are all the present tense forms of an IR verb. As an example, with an RE verb, you can see all of that's the same. And then here's an irregular verb, aller. You can see those forms are still the same for commands. So if I say, va au supermarché pour acheter les haricots, go to the supermarket, buy some green beans, same verb. Tu vas or va, the only difference is whether or not I'm using the subject. So for most commands, you have your regular present tense verb, you're just using it without the subject, and that's what makes it a command. This is very similar to English. The only exception to this is for tu commands for ER verbs. So if it is an ER verb, which this top row is examples of ER verbs, the tu command, that's the only form that's going to be different, and all you're doing is dropping the S. So the normal tu form ending would be ES for an ER verb. So instead of using ES, you're just using an E. That's the only difference. So we can see this down here with some examples, and this is an ER verb. So maybe I make my present tense sentence. Vous ramassez le salon. You all clean the living room, tidy up the living room. I want to make that a command. So I'm just literally going to take away the subject. That's it. Now it's a command. Ramassez le salon. Same thing with tu ramasses la chambre. You straighten up the room. I'm just going to take away the subject. Since this is an ER verb, I'm also going to take away that S. So I have ramasse la chambre. If this weren't an ER verb, if it were an IR verb, or an RE verb, or an irregular verb, that S would stay. I'm not going to take it away unless it is an ER verb. I know it's an ER verb because the last two letters are ES. So if you have a to form of the verb that ends in ES, you want to make it a command, you just drop the S. When you're talking, there's no change to the pronunciation whether or not that S is there. This is strictly in writing them out, which matters. So let's try that with a command here. I want the informal singular command for the verb send. All right. And question number 3, what are these directions for? Just looking through it, what do you think? All right, so for culture, just a general overview of Belgium's history and language use. So Belgium was ruled by either the Dutch or French throughout most of its history, and that's why those are the primary languages spoken there. In 1830, they were, or before that, they had been controlled by the Dutch for a little bit, the people of the Netherlands, and were part of the Netherlands. But in 1830, they rebelled against the Netherlands and became their own independent country, establishing a monarchy. So they have King Leopold, and their original official language was French. After a lot of disagreements between the French and the Dutch-speaking population, eventually Dutch was recognized as an official language as well. The Dutch-speaking population, also known as the Flemish, lived to the north because that's closer to the Netherlands. That's where Dutch came from, so that's where the heaviest Dutch influence is. The larger sort of southern region, which is closer to France and shares its border with France and Germany, and Switzerland I think is the other one, maybe just Luxembourg, known as the Walloon, they all speak French, and those two regions have their own sort of governing authorities, kind of like how states in America have a government. These two regions have a government as well. And then the capital, Brussels, which is located inside the Flemish region, is officially bilingual, so everything there is going to be in Dutch and in French. And they also have their own sort of governing system there. And it's in Brussels that the European Union often meets, and some of those different councils associated with that union. Because Belgium was one of the founding members of the groups that later became the European Union, and because of its diversity, Brussels is sort of is a really great place to have those meetings. It's a peaceful country, very centrally located, ideal for being part of being that meeting spot. Though it is not officially the capital of the European Union, it's where they most often get together. There's also a region of Belgium that speaks German, close to the German border. German is not really recognized as necessarily an official language, but there is a sizable German-speaking population in Belgium that is recognized and does have their own schools and sort of community there. So looking through these choices, which of these is true about Belgium? And our last password question is a listening, so I'm going to say this sentence several times. I'm going to set a minute timer and just repeat it as many times as I can within that minute. So the sentence is, Enregistrez les données, s'il vous plaît. 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 Great, so if you need additional support, you can look throughout Unit 14 for extra practice and other help. The Magic Calendar has all your Class Connect recordings. The study guides have a lot of great videos and questions to help you practice and prepare. And if you still don't feel ready for your retake, you can come to a Raise Your Grade session for additional help. Hopefully you have all 5 letters of the password. If you need to go back and rewatch any part of this recording, you should do so. If your password doesn't work, please email me the password that you're trying to use and I will help you troubleshoot your problems. Et bonne chance avec l'examen.